A 50-year-old farmer walks through dense forest in rural India, cutting trees for his livelihood. The morning mist clings to ancient branches as he works methodically, unaware that golden eyes track his every movement from the shadows above. In one explosive moment, 70 kilograms of pure muscle and razor-sharp claws drop from the canopy. The attack lasts mere seconds, but the survival story that follows will challenge everything you think you know about one of nature's most enigmatic predators. Every year, leopards attack hundreds of humans across their range from sub-Saharan Africa to the mountains of Central Asia. While these encounters remain statistically rare, when they do occur, your knowledge in those critical moments determines whether you become another casualty or a survivor with an extraordinary tale. Tonight, we'll take you deep into the mind of the leopard, examine real attack scenarios, and provide you with the scientific knowledge that could save your life. This isn't just another wildlife documentary. This is your survival manual for one of nature's most perfectly engineered killers. To survive an encounter with a leopard, you must first understand the magnificent predator you're facing. The leopard represents evolutionary perfection in the art of stealth hunting, and every aspect of their anatomy serves a lethal purpose. At first glance, a leopard might seem like the smaller cousin of the African lion, weighing between 30 to 90 kilograms depending on subspecies and geography. But this perceived size disadvantage masks incredible physical capabilities that make leopards pound for pound the most formidable climbing predator among all big cats. Their muscular build focuses power in their shoulders and hindquarters, with specialized scapular attachment sites that allow them to scale vertical surfaces up to 50 feet high while carrying prey twice their body weight. The leopard's bite force measures approximately 300 to 310 pounds per square inch, but this number tells only part of the story. Unlike the crushing bite of a jaguar or the suffocating grip of a lion, the leopard's dental architecture optimizes for precision strikes. Their elongated canine teeth, some measuring over 5 centimeters, are designed to puncture vital organs and severe major blood vessels with surgical accuracy. When a leopard strikes at the nape of the neck, those canines seek the precise gap between cervical vertebrae, often severing the spinal cord instantly. But perhaps the leopard's most dangerous weapon is its speed combined with explosive acceleration. While their top speed of 58 kilometers per hour might seem modest compared to a cheetah's sprint, leopards reach their maximum velocity in just 2 to 3 strides. This instantaneous acceleration, combined with their ability to leap 6 meters horizontally and 3 meters vertically, means that if you're within 10 meters of a leopard when it decides to attack, you have less than 2 seconds to react. The leopard's sensory capabilities transform them into living surveillance systems. Their night vision operates at light levels 6 times dimmer than what humans require, while their hearing detects frequencies up to 45,000 hertz, nearly twice human capability. But their true advantage lies in their ability to move through any terrain in complete silence. Those famous rosette-patterned coats don't just provide camouflage. They break up the leopard as outlined so effectively that you can be staring directly at one from 10 meters away and never see it. Research conducted across 18 African countries reveals that leopards demonstrate remarkable behavioral adaptability. Unlike lions that announce their presence or tigers that follow predictable patrol routes, leopards are masters of psychological warfare. They study human behavior patterns for days or weeks before making any aggressive move. Camera trap studies show leopards regularly observing human settlements from concealed positions, learning daily routines, identifying vulnerable individuals, and memorizing escape routes. This behavioral intelligence extends to their hunting strategy. While other big cats rely on raw power or pack coordination, leopards employ what researchers call opportunistic ambush protocols. They don't chase prey across open ground like cheetahs or engage in prolonged struggles like lions. Instead, they position themselves along routes where prey travels predictably, then deliver devastating attacks with minimal energy expenditure. Understanding these capabilities isn't meant to instill fear, but to generate the respect necessary for survival. When you grasp that you're dealing with an apex predator that can see you in conditions where you're effectively blind, hear your approach from hundreds of meters away, and strike with lethal precision before you can even register the threat, you begin to understand why casual encounters with leopards so often end tragically for humans. The maps tell a stark story. Across India's Himachal Pradesh state, researchers have documented 317 leopard attacks on humans between 2004 and 2015, averaging 30 lethal and 287 non-lethal attacks annually. In Nepal's Midland regions, the attack rate reaches 16 times higher than anywhere else globally, resulting in 1.9 human deaths per million inhabitants each year. But these aren't random occurrences scattered across vast wilderness areas. They follow precise geographic patterns that reveal the hidden triggers of human-leopard conflict. The collision between human development and leopard habitat creates what researchers call conflict amplification zones. These areas share common characteristics that make encounters not just possible, but statistically inevitable. The most dangerous zones exist at the interface between protected areas and human settlements, particularly in regions where habitat fragmentation has created isolated forest patches surrounded by agricultural land. In West Bengal's tea garden regions, satellite mapping reveals a troubling pattern. Leopards have adapted to use tea plantations as hunting corridors, moving between forest fragments while using the structured rows of tea plants for concealment. Workers entering these plantations during dawn or dusk hours unknowingly position themselves along active leopard hunting routes. Similar patterns emerge in Maharashtra's sugarcane fields, where the tall, dense crops provide perfect ambush cover for leopards stalking both natural prey and, occasionally, humans. The vertical geography of mountain regions creates additional risk factors. In Uttarakhand's Pauri Garhwal district, conflicts cluster at specific elevations, where leopards retreat to avoid competition with tigers in the foothills. As human settlements expand into these higher elevations, seeking agricultural land and forest resources, families find themselves living directly within leopard refugia. The rugged terrain that attracts leopards also isolates human communities, meaning that when attacks occur, medical help often lies hours away over difficult mountain paths. Water scarcity during dry seasons forces both humans and leopards to share limited water sources, creating predictable encounter hotspots. Camera trap studies along seasonal streams show leopards timing their water visits to coincide with human activity periods, suggesting learned behavior patterns that increase conflict probability. During extreme drought years, these water-dependent encounter rates can increase by up to 300%. The economic geography of poverty amplifies risk factors in profound ways. In regions where average incomes force families to graze livestock in unfenced areas, leopard predation on domestic animals creates a cascade effect leading to human encounters. Research across multiple Indian states shows that 75% of human leopard conflicts begin with livestock predation, escalating to human attacks when people attempt to defend their animals or recover carcasses. Seasonal migration patterns create temporal risk windows that local communities have learned to recognize. During summer months, when natural prey moves to higher elevations following grass growth patterns, leopards adjust their territories accordingly. This seasonal shift often brings leopards into closer contact with human settlements at precisely the time when agricultural activities require extended periods in fields and forests. The infrastructure of development paradoxically increases encounter risks, even as it appears to modernize regions. New road construction fragments leopard territories while creating linear features that both humans and leopards use for travel. Bridge underpasses and culverts become funneling points where encounters become more likely. Powerline corridors through forests create human maintenance activities in previously untouched leopard habitat. Urban expansion creates the most complex conflict scenarios. As cities grow into leopard habitat, the cats demonstrate remarkable adaptability to suburban environments. In Mumbai's Sanjay Gandhi National Park, leopards navigate a complex landscape of slums, construction sites, and forest patches. They've learned to time their movements to avoid peak human activity while utilizing storm drains, abandoned buildings, and industrial areas as shelter. These urban leopards develop entirely different behavioral patterns from their wilderness cousins, making traditional encounter protocols less reliable. Understanding this geographic complexity reveals why one-size-fits-all approaches to leopard encounter safety fail in practice. The leopard you might encounter in Rajasthan's desert scrubland behaves differently from one in Kerala's dense forests or Himachal Pradesh's mountain valleys. Each ecosystem shapes both leopard behavior and human activity patterns in ways that create unique risk profiles requiring localized awareness and response strategies. The attack happens faster than human reflexes can process, but understanding the behavioral sequence that precedes leopard aggression can provide crucial seconds of warning that determine survival outcomes. Unlike the dramatic charges portrayed in popular media, real leopard attacks follow predictable behavioral cascades that trained observers learn to recognize and interrupt. Leopards employ 3 distinct attack strategies depending on their motivation and circumstances. Predatory attacks, which account for approximately 14% of human encounters, follow the same behavioral sequence leopards use when hunting natural prey. The cat enters what researchers call predatory mode, characterized by lowered body posture, focused attention on the target, and methodical stalking behavior. During this phase, the leopard's pupils dilate, ears rotate forward, and tail movements become controlled and deliberate rather than random. The approach phase begins at distances of 50 to 100 meters, with the leopard using available cover to reduce this distance to optimal striking range of 8 to 12 meters. During approach, leopards demonstrate extraordinary patience, sometimes maintaining stalking behavior for hours until conditions align perfectly. They assess terrain, identify escape routes, monitor for other humans in the area, and time their attack to coincide with target vulnerability. Defensive attacks represent the majority of human leopard encounters and follow different behavioral patterns. These occur when leopards feel cornered, threatened, or are protecting cubs or food caches. The pre-attack sequence includes specific warning behaviors that humans can learn to recognize. Ears flattened against the head pupils constricted rather than dilated vocalizations, including growls, hisses, or the distinctive leopard cough and tail thrashing, or held rigid with twitching tip. The most dangerous encounters involve what researchers term redirected aggression, where leopards initially agitated by other stimuli redirect their heightened arousal toward humans who happen to be present. This can occur when leopards are disturbed while feeding, interrupted during mating, or stressed by territorial disputes with other leopards. These attacks often happen with minimal warning because the leopard's aggressive arousal is already elevated. Real attack sequences from documented encounters reveal consistent patterns. The initial strike targets the head and neck region in 78% of cases, with leopards using their powerful forelimbs to control the victim while positioning for the killing bite. The leopard strategy focuses on rapid incapacitation rather than prolonged struggle, reflecting their need to avoid injury that would compromise future hunting ability. Analysis of survivor testimonies shows that successful defense often occurs during the brief window between initial contact and the leopard's attempt to achieve a killing bite. During this phase, leopards are vulnerable to counterattack and may retreat if faced with unexpected resistance. However, this window typically lasts only 3 to 5 seconds, requiring immediate and decisive action from the victim. The behavioral aftermath of leopard attacks provides crucial insights for preventing future encounters. Leopards that successfully attack humans often exhibit what researchers call behavioral reinforcement, where positive outcomes from human interactions increase the likelihood of future attacks. This explains why problem leopards often become serial attackers, requiring management intervention rather than natural behavioral correction. Environmental factors significantly influence attack behavior patterns. Attacks occurring in dense vegetation follow different sequences than those in open areas, with leopards in thick cover maintaining stealth longer but having reduced escape options. Nocturnal attacks show higher success rates for leopards, but also increased survival rates for humans who remain calm and avoid running, suggesting that darkness affects both predator and prey behavior. Seasonal variations in attack behavior correlate with leopard physiological cycles. During breeding seasons, both male and female leopards show increased aggression and territorial behavior, leading to higher encounter rates with humans. Female leopards with cubs demonstrate the most unpredictable attack patterns, sometimes initiating aggressive encounters at distances where humans pose no actual threat to their offspring. The psychological components of leopard attack behavior reveal sophisticated cognitive assessment capabilities. Leopards consistently target isolated individuals over groups, children over adults, and people engaged in activities that reduce awareness of surroundings. This suggests active evaluation of victim vulnerability rather than random opportunistic behavior. Understanding these behavioral patterns transforms encounter management from reactive panic to proactive strategy. When you recognize the subtle signs of leopard attention, the frozen posture, focused gaze, or slow approach, You gain precious seconds to implement survival protocols rather than simply reacting to an attack already in progress. The moment you realize you're in the presence of a leopard, your next actions will determine whether you walk away with an incredible wildlife experience or become another attack statistic. Unlike encounters with most other dangerous animals, leopard encounters demand immediate assessment and rapid decision-making because these cats can transition from apparent calm to lethal action faster than any other big cat. The first rule of leopard encounter survival contradicts every human instinct: do not run. A leopard's visual system is hardwired to respond to rapid movement, and running triggers an automatic predatory response that overrides the cat's natural caution around humans. At their explosive acceleration rate, a leopard can cover 30 meters in under 3 seconds, making escape impossible over any distance where you can see the animal. Instead, implement what researchers call the psychological dominance protocol. Make yourself appear as large as possible by raising your arms above your head, opening your jacket if wearing one, or holding objects to increase your apparent size. This technique exploits the leopard's instinctive size assessment behavior. In nature, larger animals represent greater threats and energy expenditure for successful attacks. Your voice becomes a crucial survival tool during the critical first moments. Begin speaking in a loud, firm voice, using short, clear statements. The human voice represents an unfamiliar sound in the leopard's acoustic environment, and sustained vocalization often triggers what researchers call predatory confusion, where the cat hesitates while processing unexpected sensory input. Avoid shouting or screaming, which can be interpreted as distress calls that actually attract rather than deter predators. Maintain visual contact with the leopard while beginning your retreat. This requires mastering the technique of backing away slowly while keeping the animal in sight, a skill that must be practiced because it contradicts human spatial navigation instincts. Move at a pace no faster than 1 step every 2 to 3 seconds, watching for signs that your movement is triggering increased attention or approach behavior from the leopard. Create barriers whenever possible during your retreat. Position trees, rocks, vehicles, or any substantial objects between yourself and the leopard. These barriers serve multiple functions. They provide physical protection, interrupt the leopard's visual focus on you, and offer psychological comfort that can help you maintain calm during the encounter. If no natural barriers exist, use clothing, backpacks, or carried objects to create visual obstruction. Understanding leopard personal space dynamics is crucial for encounter management. Research shows that leopards maintain individual-specific comfort zones ranging from 15 to 50 meters depending on the animal's age, experience with humans, and current stress level. Violating this comfort zone dramatically increases attack probability, while respecting it often allows for peaceful separation. If the leopard begins approaching, escalate your deterrent behavior systematically. Begin with loud vocalizations and exaggerated movements, progress to throwing non-essential objects if available, and prepare for the possibility of physical defense. The key is escalation that demonstrates confidence rather than panic. Leopards are exceptionally skilled at reading human emotional states and respond differently to confident versus fearful behavior. Environmental awareness becomes critical during encounter management. Identify escape routes not for running, but for strategic repositioning. Look for elevated positions like vehicles, large rocks, or buildings that put you above the leopard's ground level. Height advantage significantly affects the psychological dynamics of the encounter. Avoid positioning yourself in confined spaces where the leopard might feel cornered, as this can trigger defensive aggression. The presence of other people fundamentally changes encounter dynamics. If you're in a group, stay together while implementing the psychological dominance protocol collectively. Multiple humans speaking simultaneously and moving in coordination often overwhelms the leopard's assessment capabilities, leading to retreat. However, if someone in your group panics and runs, the resulting chaos can trigger an attack on any group member. Weather and lighting conditions affect encounter protocols. During rain or wind, increase your vocal volume to ensure the leopard can clearly identify you as human. In low light conditions, use artificial light sources if available to illuminate yourself rather than the leopard. Cats often interpret direct illumination as aggressive behavior. Dawn and dusk encounters require extra caution because these are peak leopard activity periods when their predatory motivation is highest. Physical positioning during encounters requires careful consideration. Present your front to the leopard rather than your side or back, as frontal presentation makes you appear larger and more formidable. Keep your hands visible and avoid sudden reaching movements that might be interpreted as aggressive gestures. If you must move objects or adjust clothing, do so slowly and deliberately. The duration of encounters varies significantly, with some lasting seconds and others extending for 30 minutes or more. Maintain psychological dominance protocols throughout the entire encounter, as leopards often wait for signs of human weakness or inattention before initiating attacks. Even after the leopard appears to lose interest, continue cautious retreat protocols until you achieve safe separation distance of at least 200 meters. Understanding when encounters are escalating toward potential attack allows for final defensive preparations. Signs include the leopard reducing distance despite your deterrent efforts, changing from relaxed to focused body posture, vocalizations increasing in frequency or intensity, and tail movements becoming more agitated. These behavioral changes indicate that passive deterrence may be failing and physical defense might become necessary. Despite implementing perfect encounter protocols, approximately 8% of leopard encounters escalate to physical contact. When psychological deterrence fails and attack becomes imminent, your survival depends on understanding leopard anatomy, exploiting their behavioral patterns, and maximizing your defensive capabilities during those crucial first seconds of contact. The leopard's attack strategy provides defensive opportunities for humans who understand the sequence. Leopards typically initiate attacks with a leaping strike aimed at controlling the victim's head and neck region. This initial contact phase lasts 2 to 4 seconds, during which the leopard is focused on establishing physical control rather than delivering killing bites. This brief window represents your primary opportunity for effective resistance. Protect your neck at all costs. The leopard's killing bite targets the cervical spine or major blood vessels in the neck region. Cross your arms in front of your throat, tuck your chin down, and use your shoulders to create a protective barrier around your neck. If wearing a backpack, do not remove it. The padding and straps can provide crucial protection against claws and bites while giving you something to grab during the struggle. Target the leopard's vulnerable areas with maximum force and commitment. The eyes represent the most effective target because even minor damage to vision compromises the leopard's hunting ability and triggers immediate retreat instincts. Use thumbs, keys, or any pointed objects to strike directly at the eyes. The nose is equally vulnerable and sensitive. Powerful strikes to the nose can cause significant pain and disorientation. Use your size and weight advantage strategically. While leopards are incredibly strong, adult humans typically outweigh them significantly. If knocked down, avoid being pinned on your back where the leopard can use all 4 limbs against you. Fight to remain on your side or stomach, using your weight to prevent the leopard from achieving optimal positioning for killing bites. Leverage tools and improvised weapons whenever possible. Walking sticks, hiking poles, or large branches can create distance and deliver powerful strikes. Backpacks can be used as shields or weapons. Even small objects like rocks, bottles, or camping equipment can be effective when aimed at vulnerable areas. The key is using whatever you have available with maximum aggression and commitment. Understanding leopard pain sensitivity provides tactical advantages. Leopards have extremely sensitive paws and digits. Stamping on their feet or grabbing and twisting their toes can cause significant pain that may prompt release. Their ears are also highly sensitive to pain, and pulling or twisting can be effective. However, these techniques require close contact and should only be attempted when other options are unavailable. Maintain continuous resistance throughout any physical encounter. Leopards are accustomed to prey that struggles briefly, then becomes passive as shock sets in. Humans who continue fighting aggressively often surprise leopards sufficiently to cause retreat. Even if injured, continue defensive actions until the leopard completely disengages. Apparent withdrawal can be temporary as the cat repositions for another attack attempt. Group defense strategies require coordination but can be highly effective. If others are present, they should immediately join the defense using whatever weapons or tools are available. Multiple humans attacking simultaneously can overwhelm even a determined leopard. However, rescuers must be extremely careful to avoid accidentally injuring the victim while fighting the leopard. Use terrain and environment to your advantage during physical defense. Fight toward obstacles that can limit the leopard's movement or provide you with cover. Avoid fighting in open areas where the leopard can use its superior agility. If possible, get your back against a tree, rock, or vehicle to prevent the leopard from attacking from behind. Clothing and gear can provide unexpected defensive advantages. Heavy boots can deliver powerful kicks, thick jackets can absorb claw damage, and even t-shirts can be wrapped around arms to protect against bites. Remove loose clothing that the leopard might grab, but use protective clothing as shields when possible. The psychological aspect of physical defense cannot be underestimated. Leopards expect prey to become submissive once contacted. Aggressive resistance that includes loud vocalizations, continued movement, and sustained fighting often triggers the leopard's cost-benefit analysis to favor retreat over continued struggle. Project confidence and aggression. Even while defending, fear can be detected through scent and body language. Recovery and escape following successful defense requires careful execution. Do not immediately turn and run once the leopard disengages. Cats often make multiple attack attempts. Instead, continue facing the leopard while slowly increasing distance. Maintain ready defensive posture and keep improvised weapons available during withdrawal. If the leopard achieves a grip on any body part, specific counter techniques can force release. For limb grabs, strike the leopard's nose or eyes while simultaneously pushing into the grip rather than pulling away. This counterintuitive movement often causes confusion and loosens the hold. For clothing grabs, shed the garment immediately rather than fighting to retain it. Document everything after successful defense if possible. Details about the encounter, leopard behavior, and defensive techniques used provide valuable information for wildlife authorities and can help prevent future attacks. However, priority must be given to reaching medical care, as even minor leopard contact often results in serious bacterial infections requiring immediate treatment. Understanding that survival is possible, even during physical contact, provides psychological preparation that can improve outcomes. While leopard attacks represent serious threats, humans who fight intelligently and aggressively have significant survival rates. The key is preparation, understanding leopard vulnerabilities, and maintaining defensive action throughout the encounter. The moment a leopard attack ends, a new survival challenge begins. Leopard wounds carry unique medical complications that distinguish them from injuries caused by other predators, domestic animals, or even humans. Understanding these medical complexities and implementing proper emergency response can mean the difference between complete recovery and life-threatening complications that develop days or weeks after the initial attack. Leopard bite wounds create what medical professionals term complex polymicrobial contamination. The leopard's oral cavity harbors over 50 different bacterial species, many of which are anaerobic organisms that thrive in the deep puncture-type wounds created by large feline teeth. Research shows that 5 to 30% of leopard attack survivors develop serious infections even with proper medical treatment, while historical data from pre-antibiotic eras indicates that 75% of survivors died from secondary infections rather than their initial injuries. The immediate priorities following a leopard attack focus on controlling hemorrhage and preventing shock. Leopard attacks typically create multiple wound types simultaneously: deep punctures from canine teeth, lacerations from claws, and crush injuries from powerful jaw pressure. This combination creates complex bleeding patterns that require systematic management rather than simply treating the most obvious injury. Control bleeding using direct pressure applied with the cleanest available material. Do not remove objects that may be embedded in wounds, as these might be stemming internal bleeding. For severe neck or head injuries, be extremely careful with pressure application to avoid compromising airways. If multiple wounds are bleeding, prioritize based on blood loss rate rather than wound size. Sometimes smaller puncture wounds can cause more dangerous bleeding than dramatic but superficial lacerations. Airway management becomes critical in head and neck attacks. Leopards instinctively target the throat region, often causing damage to the larynx, trachea, or major blood vessels. Signs of airway compromise include difficulty speaking, noisy breathing, swelling around the neck, or blood in the mouth. If airway obstruction develops, this becomes the absolute priority, requiring immediate medical intervention. Pain management following leopard attacks requires careful consideration. While natural endorphins often mask initial pain, severe discomfort typically develops as shock subsides. However, avoid giving victims anything by mouth if surgery might be required. Even water can complicate anesthesia if surgical intervention becomes necessary. Focus on comfort positioning and emotional support rather than medication in wilderness settings. Prevent hypothermia during medical response. Shock and blood loss rapidly compromise the body's temperature regulation, while exposure to outdoor conditions during extended rescue operations can worsen hypothermia. Keep victims warm using any available materials, but avoid overheating, which can worsen bleeding. Cover victims with blankets, extra clothing, or emergency shelters while maintaining access to wounds for continued monitoring. Psychological trauma accompanies all leopard attacks and requires immediate attention alongside physical injuries. Victims often experience intense fear, confusion, and emotional shock that can complicate medical treatment. Maintain calm, reassuring communication while providing clear information about treatment being provided. Having someone stay with the victim to provide continuous emotional support significantly improves outcomes. Documentation during emergency response serves multiple purposes. Record the time of attack, victim's condition, treatments provided, and any changes in status. This information becomes crucial for medical professionals who will provide definitive care. Also, document details about the leopard if possible. Its size, behavior, and apparent health status can influence decisions about rabies prophylaxis and other preventive treatments. Wound cleaning in field conditions requires balancing infection prevention with available resources. If clean water is available, gently flush wounds to remove visible debris, but avoid aggressive scrubbing that might drive contaminants deeper into tissues. The priority is stopping bleeding and getting to medical care rather than achieving perfect wound hygiene in the field. Evacuation planning depends on injury severity and available resources. For life-threatening injuries, emergency helicopter evacuation may be necessary. For less severe wounds, ground transport might be adequate. However, leopard attacks often occur in remote areas where evacuation can take hours or days. During extended evacuations, continue monitoring for signs of infection, bleeding, or deteriorating condition. Antibiotic prophylaxis should begin as soon as possible after leopard attacks. The complex bacterial contamination associated with large feline bites requires broad-spectrum antibiotics effective against both aerobic and anaerobic organisms. If medical care will be delayed, consider empirical antibiotic treatment if available, but this decision should ideally involve consultation with medical professionals. Tetanus prophylaxis represents a critical consideration often overlooked during emergency response. Leopard attacks typically create deep, contaminated wounds, ideal for tetanus development. Determine the victim's tetanus vaccination status and arrange for tetanus toxoid and/or tetanus immunoglobulin as soon as medical care becomes available. Follow-up medical care extends far beyond initial wound treatment. Leopard attack survivors require monitoring for delayed complications, including infection, nerve damage, psychological trauma, and functional impairment. Plastic surgery consultation may be necessary for facial injuries, while orthopedic evaluation might be required for injuries involving joints or bones. Recovery expectations should be realistic and account for both physical and psychological healing. Physical recovery from leopard attacks typically requires weeks to months depending on injury severity. Psychological recovery can take longer and may require professional counseling to address post-traumatic stress, anxiety about future encounters, and changes in lifestyle that might be necessary. Prevention of secondary injuries during recovery requires careful attention to wound care, medication compliance, and gradual return to normal activities. Many leopard attack survivors develop complications from inadequate wound care or premature return to strenuous activities. Following medical advice strictly and maintaining realistic expectations about recovery timelines significantly improves long-term outcomes. The most effective survival strategy for leopard encounters is comprehensive prevention that addresses the environmental, behavioral, and situational factors that create encounter opportunities. Unlike many predator species with predictable habits, leopards adapt continuously to human activities, making dynamic prevention strategies essential for anyone living, working, or traveling in leopard habitat. Temporal risk awareness forms the foundation of effective prevention. Leopards demonstrate peak activity during dawn and dusk hours, with secondary activity spikes during nighttime hours when moon illumination is reduced. Research across multiple leopard populations shows that 78% of human attacks occur between sunset and sunrise, with the highest risk period extending from 1 hour before sunset to 3 hours after sunrise. Travel protocols during high-risk periods require specific modifications to normal outdoor activities. When movement during dawn or dusk cannot be avoided, travel in groups of at least 3 people while maintaining close proximity. Use bright clothing that contrasts with natural vegetation, carry noise-making devices like bells or whistles, and consider artificial lighting that illuminates your presence without destroying natural night vision adaptation. Livestock management represents the primary prevention opportunity in agricultural areas where human-leopard conflict is most common. Predator-proof enclosures reduce leopard attacks on domestic animals by up to 90% when properly constructed and consistently used. These enclosures require walls at least 8 feet high, buried barriers to prevent digging, and roof coverage in areas where leopards commonly use trees for access. Guardian animals provide dynamic protection that adapts to changing threat levels. Properly trained livestock guardian dogs can detect leopard presence at distances of 200 to 400 meters and alert humans while deterring approach. However, guardian animals require specific training and management to be effective. Poorly trained dogs can actually increase encounter risks by chasing leopards toward human areas or provoking defensive attacks. Habitat modification around human settlements creates buffer zones that reduce leopard comfort levels near homes and work areas. Remove dense vegetation within 50 meters of buildings, eliminate brush piles and debris that provide leopard hiding places, and maintain clear sightlines that prevent surprise encounters. However, balance habitat modification with conservation needs to avoid creating ecological disruption that might worsen human-wildlife conflict. Early warning systems leverage technology and community networks to provide real-time threat assessment. Camera trap networks can monitor leopard movement patterns and provide alerts when cats are detected near human activity areas. Community-based reporting systems allow rapid communication about leopard sightings, livestock attacks, or other conflict indicators across neighborhoods or regions. Personal protective equipment for high-risk activities includes items specifically designed for predator encounter scenarios. Consider carrying bear spray in regions where it's legal and available. The capsaicin-based deterrent is effective against leopards at distances up to 10 meters. Noisemakers, emergency communication devices, and bright signaling equipment can attract help during encounters or create deterrent effects that prevent attacks. Activity modification in leopard habitat requires understanding how human behavior patterns influence encounter probability. Avoid areas with recent leopard sign, including tracks, scat, or kill sites. Modify outdoor work schedules to reduce time spent in high-risk areas during peak leopard activity periods. When activities in leopard habitat cannot be avoided, implement buddy systems and maintain communication protocols with others who can provide assistance if needed. Water source awareness becomes critical during dry seasons, when both humans and leopards concentrate around limited water availability. Map local water sources and understand seasonal patterns that influence both leopard and human use. During water collection activities, approach sources carefully, make noise to announce presence, and consider scheduling water gathering during midday hours when leopard activity is typically lowest. Seasonal risk assessment helps predict when and where encounter probabilities increase. During breeding seasons, leopards become more territorial and aggressive, leading to increased human conflict. Drought years concentrate both human and leopard activity around water sources. Monsoon seasons can flood traditional leopard territories, forcing cats into areas with greater human presence. Children require special protection protocols because they represent preferred targets for leopards seeking easy prey. Establish safe play areas away from forest edges, implement adult supervision requirements during outdoor activities, and teach children specific protocols for leopard encounters, including remaining calm, avoiding running, and calling for adult help immediately. Community-based prevention strategies address conflict at the landscape level rather than individual encounters. Coordinate livestock management practices across neighborhoods to reduce attractants. Establish communication networks for rapid sharing of leopard sighting information. Develop community response protocols for dealing with problem leopards that begin showing unusual behavior around human settlements. Emergency preparedness ensures that when prevention fails, response capabilities are optimized. Maintain first aid supplies appropriate for treating large predator attacks, including wound dressing materials, antibiotics if legally available, and emergency communication devices. Establish evacuation plans and ensure multiple community members know how to implement medical response protocols. Education and training provide the knowledge foundation that makes prevention strategies effective. Many leopard attacks result from human lack of awareness about leopard behavior, habitat preferences, and encounter risks. Regular community education programs, hands-on training in encounter protocols, and updates about local leopard activity patterns significantly reduce attack rates in areas where they're implemented consistently. Technology integration offers new prevention opportunities that leverage modern communication and monitoring capabilities. Mobile phone applications can provide real-time alerts about leopard activity. GPS tracking allows rapid location of people working in high-risk areas, and satellite communication devices ensure help can be summoned even from remote locations where cellular coverage is unavailable. The economic dimension of prevention strategies must balance cost with effectiveness. While expensive technological solutions might not be practical for rural communities, low-cost approaches like improved livestock enclosures, community warning systems, and basic first aid training can dramatically reduce both encounter rates and attack severity when encounters do occur. Real survival stories provide insights that laboratory research and theoretical knowledge cannot match. By examining documented leopard encounters where humans survived against overwhelming odds, we can identify specific techniques, decisions, and circumstances that separate survivors from victims. These cases also reveal how individual actions during critical moments can override statistical predictions about encounter outcomes. The case of the 50-year-old farmer in rural India demonstrates how proper wound management and rapid medical response can overcome even severe injuries. After being dragged nearly 400 meters by a large male leopard, the victim survived attacks that severed his thyroid cartilage, punctured his pharynx, and created multiple deep lacerations across his head and neck. His survival resulted from three critical factors: immediate intervention by a coworker who drove off the leopard, proper first aid that controlled bleeding without compromising his airway, and access to surgical care within 5 hours of the attack. The medical response in this case illustrates optimal trauma management for leopard attacks. Emergency responders immediately secured the airway through tracheotomy, administered broad-spectrum antibiotics against polymicrobial infection, and performed immediate surgical repair of damaged structures. The victim required multiple surgeries over several weeks, but achieved complete functional recovery, demonstrating that even devastating leopard attacks can have positive outcomes with proper medical intervention. A contrasting case from Nepal's Terai region shows how group dynamics can prevent attacks entirely. A family of 5 encountered a female leopard with cubs while collecting firewood in dense forest. Rather than panicking or scattering, the family members grouped together, made loud vocalizations, and slowly retreated while maintaining visual contact with the leopard. The encounter lasted nearly 20 minutes, but the leopard eventually led her cubs away without making any aggressive moves toward the humans. This case demonstrates several key principles: the importance of staying together during group encounters, the effectiveness of sustained vocal deterrence, and the value of patience during extended encounters. The family's decision to respect the leopard's space, while projecting confident human presence, created conditions where the leopard could retreat without feeling cornered or threatened. A remarkable survival story from Himachal Pradesh involves a 15-year-old boy who successfully fought off a leopard attack using improvised weapons and tactical thinking. When attacked while working alone in agricultural fields, the boy used his farming tools, specifically a hand sickle and wooden staff, to defend against the leopard. Rather than simply swinging wildly, he targeted the leopard's face and eyes while protecting his own neck and torso. The boy's survival resulted from several factors that can be replicated. He maintained aggressive resistance throughout the encounter, used available tools strategically rather than relying only on his hands, and continued fighting even after being knocked down. His injuries required extensive medical treatment, but his aggressive defense prevented the leopard from achieving a killing bite, ultimately saving his life. A group encounter in Maharashtra demonstrates how coordination between multiple people can rescue someone already under attack. When a leopard grabbed a woman gathering water at dawn, 3 family members immediately joined the defense using sticks, rocks, and coordinated shouting. The key to their success was immediate action rather than hesitation, with all 3 people attacking the leopard simultaneously from different angles. This case shows that rescue during active attacks is possible, but requires immediate commitment from helpers. The family members put themselves at risk to save their relative, but their coordinated response overwhelmed the leopard's ability to maintain its attack while defending against multiple threats. The woman survived with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. A prevention success story from Karnataka illustrates how community-based early warning systems can eliminate encounter opportunities entirely. A village that experienced multiple leopard attacks over several years implemented a combination of camera traps, community spotters, and mobile phone alert networks. When leopards were detected approaching the village, alerts allowed residents to modify their activities and avoid encounters entirely. Over 3 years of system operation, leopard presence was detected 47 times near the village, but advance warning prevented any human encounters. This case demonstrates that technology and community organization can provide effective prevention even in areas with high leopard populations and significant human-wildlife overlap. A failure case from Uttarakhand provides equally valuable lessons about what not to do during leopard encounters. A trekking group encountered a leopard on a forest trail and made several critical mistakes. One member immediately ran, triggering a chase response. Others in the group screamed and threw objects randomly rather than implementing coordinated deterrence, and the group scattered rather than staying together for mutual protection. The running group member was caught and killed within 50 meters, while the scattered group members each faced individual encounters with a now agitated leopard. 2 additional people were injured before forest guards arrived and drove off the leopard. This case illustrates how panic responses can transform a manageable encounter into a tragedy. Analysis of urban leopard encounters in Mumbai provides insights into how leopards adapt their behavior to human-dominated environments. Urban leopards demonstrate different attack patterns from their wilderness counterparts, often showing reduced flight response and increased tolerance for human presence. Survivors of urban encounters report that traditional deterrence techniques are less effective, requiring more aggressive defensive responses. A medical case study from a trauma center in Dehradun analyzed 23 leopard attack victims over 5 years, revealing patterns in injury types and treatment outcomes. Head and neck injuries occurred in 78% of cases, with facial lacerations being the most common specific injury type. Patients who received treatment within 4 hours of attack had significantly better outcomes than those with delayed medical care. The psychological aftermath of leopard attacks creates long-term challenges that affect survival in broader terms. Follow-up studies of attack survivors show high rates of post-traumatic stress, with many survivors developing severe anxiety about outdoor activities that previously formed essential parts of their livelihoods. Successful recovery often requires psychological counseling alongside medical treatment. These case studies reveal that leopard encounter outcomes depend on multiple factors beyond simple physical confrontation. Preparation, knowledge, group dynamics, available tools, medical response capabilities, and psychological resilience all contribute to survival probability. Most importantly, they demonstrate that survival is possible even in severe encounters when people apply proper techniques and maintain determination to fight for their lives. The psychological dimension of leopard encounters extends far beyond the immediate physical threat, creating complex trauma responses that can affect survivors for months or years after the incident. Understanding these psychological challenges and implementing proper recovery strategies often determines whether survivors can return to normal lives or remain permanently disabled by fear and anxiety related to their leopard encounter. The acute stress response during leopard encounters triggers powerful neurochemical changes that can both help and hinder survival. Adrenaline and cortisol release provide enhanced physical capabilities during the encounter, but can also create tunnel vision, memory gaps, and decision-making impairment that complicates survival responses. Training and mental preparation help individuals maintain cognitive function even under extreme stress. Post-traumatic stress disorder develops in approximately 60% of leopard attack survivors, with symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, and avoidance behaviors that can severely impact quality of life. Unlike PTSD from human violence or accidents, animal attack trauma carries unique elements including fear of natural environments, anxiety about animal sounds, and persistent concerns about future encounters. The sensory components of leopard encounters create particularly persistent traumatic memories. Survivors frequently report that specific sounds, such as low growls, rustling vegetation, or even domestic cat vocalizations, can trigger intense anxiety responses months after their encounter. The visual memory of golden eyes or spotted coat patterns can create lasting phobias that extend to domestic cats or even leopard print patterns. Cultural factors significantly influence psychological recovery from leopard encounters. In communities where leopard attacks are relatively common, social support systems often exist to help survivors process their experiences. However, in areas where attacks are rare, survivors may feel isolated and struggle to find others who understand their experience. Children who survive leopard encounters face unique psychological challenges that require specialized intervention. Developmental considerations mean that young survivors may not have the cognitive tools to process traumatic experiences effectively. Play therapy, gradual exposure to safe outdoor environments, and family counseling often prove essential for pediatric recovery. The economic impact of psychological trauma extends beyond medical costs to include lost productivity, career changes, and reduced quality of life. Many survivors of leopard attacks report being unable to return to outdoor occupations, such as farming, forestry, or guiding, that previously provided their primary income. This economic disruption can create secondary trauma that compounds the original psychological injury. Family and community support systems play crucial roles in psychological recovery. Research shows that survivors who receive understanding and support from their communities recover more quickly and completely than those who face skepticism, blame, or isolation. Educating families and communities about trauma responses helps create supportive environments for recovery. Professional psychological intervention should begin as soon as possible after leopard encounters, even for survivors who initially appear to be coping well. Early intervention can prevent the development of chronic PTSD and help survivors develop healthy coping mechanisms. However, in many regions where leopard attacks occur, mental health services may be limited or culturally inappropriate. Gradual exposure therapy helps survivors overcome avoidance behaviors that can severely limit their lives. This process must be carefully managed to avoid re-traumatization while helping survivors regain confidence in outdoor environments. The process often begins with looking at photographs of leopards, progresses to visiting zoos or wildlife centers, and eventually includes supervised return to natural environments. Peer support groups connecting leopard attack survivors can provide unique therapeutic benefits that professional counseling alone cannot achieve. Survivors often find that only other people who have faced similar experiences can truly understand their ongoing challenges and fears. These groups also provide practical advice about coping strategies that have proven effective. The relationship between physical and psychological recovery requires integrated treatment approaches. Survivors with visible scars or physical disabilities from their attacks often struggle with additional self-image and confidence issues. Comprehensive recovery programs address both physical rehabilitation and psychological healing simultaneously. Medication can play important roles in trauma recovery, particularly for managing anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbances that commonly follow leopard encounters. However, medication should be combined with counseling and other therapeutic interventions rather than used as a standalone treatment approach. Return to normal activities requires careful pacing and realistic goal setting. Many survivors feel pressure to resume their previous lives immediately, but pushing too hard too fast can create setbacks in recovery. Gradual reintegration with support systems and backup plans helps build confidence while avoiding overwhelming anxiety. The concept of post-traumatic growth recognizes that some survivors eventually develop increased appreciation for life, stronger relationships, and greater personal resilience as a result of working through their traumatic experiences. While not all survivors experience this positive outcome, understanding that growth is possible can provide hope during difficult recovery periods. Long-term follow-up care ensures that psychological recovery continues progressing over time. Many trauma symptoms may not appear until weeks or months after the initial encounter, making ongoing monitoring important. Regular check-ins with mental health professionals can identify emerging issues before they become severe problems. Prevention of psychological trauma begins before encounters occur through education and mental preparation. People living or working in leopard habitat who understand potential encounter scenarios and have practiced response techniques often experience less severe psychological trauma if encounters actually occur. The integration of traditional healing practices with modern psychological treatment can improve outcomes in cultures where traditional approaches carry more acceptance than Western psychotherapy. Combining culturally appropriate healing rituals with evidence-based trauma treatment creates comprehensive approaches that address both psychological and spiritual dimensions of recovery. As our journey through the world of leopard encounters concludes, we return to that farmer in the Indian forest whose survival story opened our exploration. His recovery took 8 months of medical treatment, 3 surgeries, and ongoing psychological counseling. Today, he continues his forestry work, but with profound changes in how he approaches his environment. He carries emergency communication equipment, works only during daylight hours, and has trained his entire community in leopard encounter protocols. His transformation from victim to educator embodies the ultimate message of survival. Knowledge transforms fear into respect, helplessness into preparedness, and chance into choice. Every year, human populations expand deeper into leopard territories, while climate change and habitat destruction force these magnificent predators into closer contact with people. The statistical reality suggests that leopard encounters will become more frequent, not less, making the knowledge you've gained tonight increasingly vital for anyone living, working, or traveling in the world's most biodiverse regions. But beyond personal survival, understanding leopards serves a larger purpose. These cats are ecosystem engineers whose presence indicates healthy, functioning natural environments. When we learn to coexist safely with leopards, we protect not just human lives, but entire ecological communities that depend on apex predators for balance and stability. The techniques, strategies, and scientific insights we've explored represent more than survival tactics. They constitute a blueprint for intelligent coexistence with one of nature's most perfectly adapted predators. Every successful encounter, every prevented attack, and every life saved contributes to a growing body of knowledge that benefits both human communities and leopard conservation. Remember that the leopard scanning you from the shadows possesses millions of years of evolutionary refinement in the art of survival. When you enter their domain, you're playing a game where the rules were written long before humans developed agriculture, cities, or technology. But you now possess something equally powerful: understanding based on scientific research, tested survival strategies, and the accumulated wisdom of those who faced leopards and lived to share their experiences. Whether you're a wildlife researcher venturing into remote forests, a local guide leading tourists through leopard country, a farmer protecting livestock in contested landscapes, or simply someone who appreciates the complexity and beauty of our shared natural world, the knowledge you've gained provides both practical protection and deeper appreciation for one of Earth's most remarkable predators. The next time you hear that distant cough echoing through the darkness, or glimpse those unmistakable rosette patterns moving through dappled shadows, you'll respond not with panic, but with informed respect. You'll understand that you're in the presence of evolutionary perfection, and you'll have the tools, knowledge, and confidence to ensure that encounter becomes a privilege rather than a tragedy. As we conclude, take a moment to appreciate the incredible privilege of sharing our planet with creatures like leopards. In a world where wilderness shrinks daily and wildlife populations face unprecedented pressures, every successful human-leopard coexistence represents hope for a future where magnificent predators continue to patrol their ancient territories while humans pursue their livelihoods safely and sustainably. The golden eyes watching from the shadows need not be harbingers of fear, but reminders of the wild beauty that still graces our world. With knowledge as your guide and respect as your compass, you're now prepared to navigate the complex landscape where human needs and leopard territories intersect. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of survival. If this exploration has helped you understand these remarkable predators better, or if you think this knowledge could help protect others, please share this documentary with your networks. Subscribe for more in-depth explorations of wildlife encounters and conservation challenges that affect our shared future. Your engagement helps us continue producing the detailed, scientific content that bridges the gap between academic research and practical knowledge for people living alongside wildlife. The next time you venture into leopard country, you'll carry with you the wisdom of survivors, the insights of researchers, and the respect these magnificent predators have earned through millions of years of evolutionary excellence. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember that knowledge is the most powerful tool in any survival situation. Until our next exploration into the wild spaces where humans and wildlife intersect, keep learning, keep respecting the natural world, and keep prepared for the extraordinary encounters that make life in partnership with wildlife both challenging and magnificent.